Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining this Safety Roundtable live interactive session on this lovely, sunny, in London at least, Wednesday afternoon in August. I'm just checking that everything's working technology-wise, which it seems to be. If you're joining on the Zoom, then welcome. If you're watching along with us on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube or any of these other places, thanks for joining us. Do feel free to come and get involved on the Zoom by going to the Safety Roundtable website and joining the Zoom via the link there. So we're going to be talking today about the return on investment from safety and posing the question, can you get a financial return on investment from safety? So I'm looking forward to chatting this through with you. There are some conflicting opinions about this, so we'll see where we get to. And as always, would be delighted to have some nice interaction with everybody that's on the call today. Just quickly, if you haven't attended a safety roundtable before, these are fortnightly sessions on Zoom. We cover a different topic each time. Sometimes, like today, it's me introducing a topic to you and then opening it up for a discussion. Other times, as we've had recently, I will facilitate a discussion with a guest. So the guest will come on and talk about a topic, maybe do like a mini presentation or mini podcast appearance, and then we go into the discussion. But the idea behind this is really that it is a roundtable. It's designed to be interactive. So the more that we can get involved and share our thoughts and comments, then the more we can all get out of it. Do invite your colleagues, friends, loved ones, anyone that's interested in safety and risk to come along and join us. So just to start with, wherever you are right now, let me know in the chat, what's your answer to this question? Can you get a financial return on investment from safety? So is it a yes? Is it a no? Is it a maybe? Let us know in the chat wherever you are. And this will just be an interesting starting point for this discussion, so we can kind of see where we as an audience are at on our opinion around this topic. Let's see what's coming in. Yes, lots of yeses coming in. Maybe. Okay, so we're broadly positive, it seems like, on this question. What about this? If we're broadly positive that we think we can get a financial return investment from safety, what are the challenges or what are the blockers to achieving that? Or I guess maybe more accurately, to selling that concept to a non-safety audience? I'm going to share some data whilst you think about this, because I asked the same question to a big, wide audience, and I'll share their response. But any observations you've got, any experiences you've got, any thoughts you've got about this, if you're on the Zoom, go to reactions, raise your hand, and we can chat it through, or you can explain in the chat wherever you are watching along. And in the meantime, whilst people are plucking up the courage or furiously typing out their responses to that, I thought I'd share this with you. So I asked the question, the exact same question: do you believe you can get a financial ROI for investing in safety, on LinkedIn? And I did this in a few different LinkedIn groups. So this one here was EHS professionals, 275 votes, 91% yes, 4% no, and 5% maybe / unsure. Same question in the American Society of Safety Professionals group on LinkedIn, 319 votes that time, 92% yes, 5% no, 3% maybe unsure. And HSE People Group, 184 votes, 91% yes, 5% no, 4% maybe / unsure. Now, I did post this poll into loads and loads of groups, but these are just the three largest data sets in terms of responses. And if we add all three up, the average is 91% of people voting. And bear in mind, these are people who are in a safety role because they are in a health and safety related group on LinkedIn, um, are saying, yes, we believe we can get a financial ROI from safety. Mike, you've raised your hand. Do you want to come and have a chat?
Yeah, I think that not every safety intervention will give you a positive ROI, but
Mm.
the cumulative effect of doing lots of little things generally improves the whole feeling at work. Definitely improves psychological safety, and once you've improved psychological safety, you tend to then get improvement in attendance, which I've seen. Obviously, lowering of accidents, which in itself saves money. But yeah, not everyone will be a thing, but I think overall the effect you get from it will be positive and will give you a positive ROI.
Thanks, Mike. I'd certainly agree with that, that not every single thing will achieve in on in and of itself a financial ROI. So thank you for raising that. Daniel, you've got your hand up. Do you want to come and say hello?
Yeah, thanks, Christian. I think very much similar to Mike, not everything is going to give you a return on investment, but the the more experience your organization has of incidents, accidents, collisions, whatever it may be, the more likely you're going to be able to sell the investment because you will have an idea of what the cost is. With organizations that haven't got that idea of what the cost of a major incident, a collision, fatality, whatever it may be, they don't have that experience, then it's all guesswork. It's, well, it might give us a return. When you've got the evidence, when you've got the dollar signs, as it were, from my organization, PepsiCo, then you have the ability to say, it's there. We can stop this from happening by investing in safety. And that is a compelling argument for many organizational leaders.
Yeah, that's a great point. Fully agree with that. What's the value of preventing something that never happened? It is always one difficult challenge that you can get from a non-safety person. And as you've just said, Daniel, there, if you don't have the data, if you're a very big, multinational organization, you're going to have years and oodles of data to look at and figure out, where are our weak points around safety, where are areas for improvement, and you can have a data-led approach to that. Whereas if you're watching this as an SME, and perhaps you've been trading for 2 years and you don't have any accident data, you don't maybe even have any near miss data, it's quite difficult to know where you can invest in safety and achieve that ROI. Well, there may well be some examples that you can. As we start to talk about insurance, for example, there can be a return on investment from that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think I agree with you. It's definitely much more difficult if you don't have that initial data. Jay, do you want to come on?
Hi, Christian. Yeah, I managed to make this one.
Good man. Good to see you.
The past for you. I was going to flip the question. So it doesn't give you a return on investment necessarily. However, it gives you an opportunity for investment because as a previous CEO that I worked with told me that I was a necessary evil because if I wasn't within the business, then they wouldn't be able to bid for the work in the first place. So actually, we open the gateways to investment. They wouldn't be getting the investment from the investors if it wasn't for having the safety professionals, the safety policies and procedures in place. So actually, are we getting a return on investment from the businesses that we're working for?
I like that. I like that thought. That's a really good and valid point. And we touched on this slightly in the discussion we had a few weeks back about compliance, because one of the main concrete benefits of compliance is exactly that scenario that you've said. You can't pitch for this work, you can't tender for this work unless you've got X, Y, Z to prove that you're
it's the chicken and egg moment.
Hmm.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. Well, let's flesh out some of those thoughts as we get going into this a bit further, because that point about reinvestment is one that I've got in mind for us to chat through as well. I'll just have a look on the chat here. So culture is seen as a bit of a challenge, communication and culture. Yeah, if critical or significant safety issues are rare, echoing Daniel's point. Interesting point here. The challenge that's faced is that senior management want to see an immediate ROI after funding safety initiatives. Safety improvements can't be achieved overnight, but you can see the improvement after 2 to 5 years, depending on the organization's size and culture. That's a really excellent point as well, and that echoes with experiences that I've had. I think one of the big challenges around, Daniel and I spoke about the benefits of being a large organization, that you can have a lot of data and you can take some data-led decisions. One of the flip sides to that is potentially, particularly in, I would say, in my experience, listed companies, the CEO, the CFO, and the management team are typically incentivized in large part on the share price. And the share price is not going to be taking into account, I don't believe, hugely anyway, longer term investments in safety. So that point about linking quick ROI to safety initiatives is important in that kind of scenario. I think if you've got, a business like mine, let's say, which is an SME and it's owner led, then I'm in this for the long haul, and I'm happy to make investments that are going to repay in 5, 6, 7, 10 years, because that's the horizon that I'm working on. Whereas, if you're in a business where the leadership can be a bit more transactional, should we say, and short-termist, then perhaps that could be quite difficult. So let's just talk about a couple of examples of where the sort of return on investment in financial terms is relatively clear. I've shared this scenario before, but this is a CCTV image from a co-op store in Cornwall in 2015. There's a yellow floor sign out with next to a big puddle on the floor, and you can see at the top of the screen some feet which belong to a man called Stanley May. He's about to walk down the aisle, slip in the water, bang his head, and within 48 hours, sadly, passes away. Now, we can all see that, there's a cost to something terrible like that happening, and nobody on this call wants somebody to die, of course, or be harmed, of course, on their watch. So the cost of this kind of protection of human life is something that we can look to. But again, as we just said, if you haven't had a bad one, then perhaps this cost is being underplayed slightly. This case did result in a £400,000 criminal fine. And tragically, as well as Mr. May passing away, his wife, I learnt in the last couple of years, passed away very shortly thereafter as well. So, for the family, this had a big impact. And of course, the old adage of, if you think safety is expensive, try an accident, certainly holds true, particularly in the case of larger organizations where in the UK, the climate for criminal fines has really accelerated in the last kind of 8 years. So there was a case, again, in my world of slip safety, where a gentleman who was in his 90s slipped and broke his hip in a Tesco store in Hemel Hempstead. So, in your 90s, a broken hip is a serious injury, but clearly we're not in the same realm as what happened in the co-op store in terms of the fatality. But this led to a £733,000 criminal fine. And all in all, the cost of that one incident would have been in the 7 figures for Tesco. So, we can see there are these kind of headline things that we can quantify the cost of, and we can start to think, therefore, about if we can prevent something like this happening, then there is an ROI. But I think that's as far as the sort of traditional view in many respects has gone. So we think about the cost to the business of investing in safety versus that kind of human safety cost and reduce legal fees or legal costs. And if you just weigh up that equation, then unless you've had one of those bad things happen, you can see how it's possible that the scale might tip on the side of let's not invest in this. Let's instead sort of take our chances. So the challenge for us, I think, is what we can do as safety professionals to try and tilt the scales the other way. And that's where we need to be clearer, go a bit deeper, understand better, explain better. What are some of the other tangible benefits and outcomes we can achieve through investment into safety that aren't those kind of superficial ones that everybody clearly can understand? So I've tried to just pull together a list of a few things here. So this does include the two at the top here, protecting health and safety, mitigating legal costs. We can all understand those. Every board will understand those. But I've tried here to add in another six that I think are worthy of us chatting through, and I'd love to get your feedback on this list. Do you think it's right or wrong? What would you add? What would you change? Have you had any experiences in successes in these areas, or even some failures that you're willing to speak about? How do you perceive that your organization would see these areas and the effect that safety could have on them? So the first one I thought of was sort of productivity / efficiency / high performance. There is a lot of data that links to psychological safety and physical safety, driving higher productivity, better efficiency, and a higher performance team environment. And I think that, in my experience, the link between we've got a high performance environment and we're going to make more money, which is what we're kind of talking about here, is one that boards can certainly make pretty easily. Tamara, you've got your hand up. Do you want to come and say hello?
Yeah, hi. Good morning,
Hey.
everybody. It's morning time for me here, so because I'm in Canada. I think that when we're looking at productivity, especially with our employees, if we really want a return of investment, and Christian, you and I have spoken about this in the past. I think that there is a need to bring in the frontline worker into the discussions and decision making, right? So we're actually, hold on, let me cancel the timer for the teenager to get out of the tub. There we go. I think that one of the things that often as health and safety professionals we do is we try to do everything ourselves and hold on to everything, when in reality we have a vast human resource capital to us, which is the employees. I think I shared with you my experience with a worker that I had at Metro who happened to be a nurse, right? And when I found out that she was actually very interested in working in health and safety, she actually took on the health area of health and safety. And she brought in wonderful programs of yoga and different stuff. She went around and did assessments with employees, right? And so there's a return on investment right there. We didn't have to go outside the organization. We could actually find somebody inside the organization to work with us who had the capabilities. I think it's also part of understanding who do you have in your employment pool, because often people come with so many talents that are unidentified. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, we've spoken about that before. I think the challenge here is to firstly understand these areas ourselves, but then actually how do we implement them? How do we influence them? How do we drive them through? And I think you're absolutely right that to do that, we need to engage with obviously the board, the senior leadership team. We need to engage with people who are on our kind of level, so who are looking at different verticals and departments within the organization. And of course, we absolutely need to engage with those people on the shop floor because they're going to help to inform us on where the risks are, the issues are. They're also going to help us to drive the implementation of this. And fundamentally, it's them and our customers, depending on what industry we're in, that are going to be the beneficiaries of this and the people that we're trying to keep safe to achieve this ROI. So we definitely need to get their involvement. Mike, did you want to add something?
Yeah, personal experience as well. About 3 years ago, we were running at a absenteeism rate of between 5 and 6%. We've driven that down to just below 2% the last financial year, and we actually had a survey of all our employees. We had focus groups of the employees, and they said the number one reason for the improvement they believe is because of health and safety improvements.
Nice. That's a really, really good example. I might. Would you mind dropping me that in an email, Mike?
Certainly.
I'd love to have a chat with you offline about that because that's a really good example and well done to you for getting that through. Tamara.
Just to kind of piggyback off of what Mike just said there, and I'm not sure a lot of people know this, but in Canada we had a major strike from one of our grocery company employees, Metro, and one of the big reasons that they went on strike was the decline in health and safety. Right, so that cost that company, I believe they went on strike for over a month. Because that's how important it was to them.
Yeah, that's also a great example. Hey, Tamara, drop me a link on that as well if you wouldn't mind. I love all of this stuff, so the more info I can get on this, the better. But a great example, and that ties into the next point that I thought about, which was employee morale, retention, and acquisition. So these, to some extent, tie into high performance in terms of morale, but actually, think of it this way. What's the cost of recruiting a new member of staff? What's the cost of retraining and replacing a member of staff? Pretty high. So if we can make staff feel safer, they're going to be happier, as the two examples we've just seen demonstrate working for us. We're going to get them to work longer for us. We're going to have benefit from their experience and a lack of a need to retrain, re-equip, etc. people to take their place. Sales and retention. I've got a concrete example of this that I'm going to share in a minute, but this ties in with the employee morale piece a little bit as well. So nowadays, people are increasingly aligning themselves to brands and to businesses that stand for things and stand for causes that they align with themselves. So if we can think about the broad themes of ESG, safety within that, if we can be doing a good job on safety, this is going to help us to attract and retain customers. But there are also some more concrete examples here as well. A leisure group that I supported, we helped them to drive down, as I'll share, their slip accident rates. So that was the health and safety outcome, and there were lots of benefits. We'll talk about that in a second. But one of the added bonuses was to make these environments safer. They also were cleaner, more attractive, more welcoming, and they got massive improvement in net promoter score, member feedback, member retention, new business sales. It was easier to sell and easier to retain custom in a safer environment. Insurance premiums, risk transfer. Got a great example of this where just by being open to looking at safety improvements, a large national sort of shopping centre property owner got quite a big £65,000 to be precise reduction in their insurance premium just by kind of demonstrating their interest in being better at safety. They also got some funding to do some risk improvement and risk diagnostic work as well from their insurer. And this is going back to a point I made earlier. Even if you have little history, if you can prove to your insurer that you are what they would deem to be a good risk in inverted commas, in other words, you're pretty safe, you're a safe bet, for want of a better term, then you're likely to be able to get some more beneficial rates on insurances. Reputation and customer experience, I think, can sort of speak for itself. And then time. So, you know, if you can solve whatever your most pressing safety issue is, think about the time that that can save you. You know, filling in forms, investigating accidents, talking to people, dealing with claims, etc., etc., etc. If you could solve just that number one problem, that would mean that you can actually free up so much more of your time, your thinking space. And it's not just you as well, it's other people in the organization, because you know you're not working in a silo here dealing with these things. There are going to be other people within the organization impacted. So time that can be reinvested, like we spoke about earlier, or potentially saved, you know, that is a major potential financial benefit of safety as well. So any further thoughts on those? Anything you'd like to add or maybe disagree with? Any experiences that we've already had a couple of? And I'd be interested as well to get your view. You know, how well do you think the safety profession does at explaining the value of what it is that we do and the value of these things that we have been speaking about? I'd be really, really interested to know what you think about that. A couple of quick examples to bring this to life, just as well to sort of set the scene on this, and then we can go into as much discussion as we want to. So probably the most quoted example about the benefits and the return on investment of safety is the Alcoa case. So Paul O'Neill took over as CEO, I think it was in 1987, and he stood up at his introductory meeting and he shocked everybody in the room by talking about safety. And what they were expecting was, you know, finance and sales and all the usual sort of CEO stuff. And he said, I intend to make Alcoa the safest company in America. This story has been captured really well in a book called The Power of Habits. And the principle of that book is that habits are really impactful, because if we can get people to do things habitually, then it has all sorts of knock-on benefits. And Paul O'Neill, I believe, saw safety as being a kind of cornerstone, keystone habit, and that if we focus on safety, we would see lots of other benefits off the back of that as well. He was there for over a decade. How did they do in terms of a scorecard? So they're now I can't remember what rate this was. Was this incident rate or lost time rate? But it was a metric of safety performance. Went from 1.86 per 100 workers to 0.2, so a massive improvement in safety. But over that period of time, their market capitalization, their value went up, I think, 5-fold, and they made 7-fold increase in their profitability. So safety, if you speak to people from Alcoa, and you spoke to people from Alcoa then, was I won't say the, but it was absolutely a driving force of that. Can we put the 7-fold increase in profit 100% down to safety? I don't think anybody would suggest that it's purely down to safety. But did safety, without question, contribute to the financial improvement in performance? I also think people would struggle to argue that it did not. Okay, we've got a couple of hands up. Mohammed, do you want to come in?
Hi, Chris. Thank you for inviting me. I'm sure that you can hear me, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the topic and the discussion. I would like we can say, to shed some light on a topic. As a safety professional, we have a challenge to balance between the numbers and the quantities, and on the other hand, the human part and the moral thing of health and safety. Many peoples are attached to number. We hear a lot about organizations that are celebrating, we achieved 3 million hours without LTI, 5 million hours without, and even 10 million hours without LTI, which is a challenge. However, on the other hand, if you don't link your performance and health and safety performance, of course, to numbers, you will lose important stakeholders, especially the finance team, investors, the leadership team. So I see the dilemma here is to balance between numbers and in the same way, or in the same area, not to lose the human part or the human thing of health and safety.
Absolutely. And I think the reality is that this is our challenge as the safety professional, because we need to come from that position of the heart, should we say, and we need to translate it in some way, shape, or form into a topic of the head, and that is the numbers. I think the reality is that business is driven by numbers. The language of business is numbers, and so we have to be able to get this kind of moral argument over into something that can be driven as a financial argument, and that's, I suppose, what I'm trying to help to get the discussion going on today. How can we think about this maybe a bit differently? What strategies can we employ? Which areas should we focus on to try to make that case easier for you guys to shape, to influence, to drive through within your organization? Because I'm sure if you pulled aside your CEO and said, "Do you want somebody to die at work, or do you want somebody to be seriously injured at work?" Of course, they're going to say no. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they will walk the walk in terms of all of the things that we might need to do around investment, unless we can help to guide them as to why that needs to be done. Thanks for joining, and thanks for your question, Pavel. You've got something you wanted to add?
Yes, Christian. Thank you. Thank you for your review. Very, very interesting. I just in this area from the IT, like from IT point of view. So that's what I can contribute to the discussion. And of course, the numbers, I agreed with you completely. The numbers are a must-have thing when you need to prove any investment into the safety. You cannot do without that. And the intangible moral and all the other aspects, they also need to be leveraged maybe on a later stage when making the whole case. Further, what Tamara just mentioned about the willingness of the people on the floor to contribute to the safety, I should add that this could not be just an isolated case, but this could be something that could be actually managed and initiated through a certain technology, through a certain methodology. What I told you before about the safety crowdsourcing that I'm like a big fan of, and that's right exactly about the incentivizing, motivating the people on the floor to participate interactively into safety improvement, to participate proactively into safety improvement. And that's involve actually the some rewards to offering some reward for risk reporting, for doing the housekeeping, and for all other for taking safety courses, etc. So you can use various kind of perks for the people on the floor, to do that, and that will contribute towards the Paul O'Neill said as the habit, right? The safety habit, which is only done by practice. So in this way, you need certain components like IT service, like IT, like well, mobile app or whatever, which is easily accessible and always with you to do this safety improvements, tangible things with that. This needs an incentive for the worker, and this together will bring the habit. And here, the important thing is that once the habit is built, this will be definitely contribute to the safety, to the safety culture, and this safety culture will contribute to the overall culture in the company. And this is where the tangible thing begins to emerge. And there are certain studies that show that the level of culture in the company directly influences the profitability of that company. So this is just kind of reasoning that I use when making this justification of the safety investment from the IT point of view. So that's safety crowdsourcing is the concept that can also be used when thinking about return on investment and investment in general into safety. That's actually my point.
Good stuff. Thanks, Pavel. That's really useful insights there. I think the points about making it the staff kind of aligned and giving them some kind of incentive is an interesting one. I agree. We've got to make them buy into why it's important. I think the counter argument for a kind of incentive is potentially that it may lead to maybe I think most businesses under-report safety issues. I think if you incentivize the reporting of safety issues, then potentially it swings the other way. This is the argument I've heard made anyway. I can't speak to this from personal experience, but the theoretical argument is that if you incentivize people to report, they over-report, and then it swings the other way. And so it's probably there's something absolutely there. I would agree with you, but the question is, what exactly would that be? I'm not entirely sure, but definitely a good one to think about.
Yeah, that's about the policies. It's a difficult question. I agree totally with you.
Yeah.
It can be resolved with the policies, etc. Things like that.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a couple more hands up. I'm going to butcher your name, Metushla.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I hope you hear me loud and clear.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, this is Methuselah. I'm the other side of the planet. I'm in Africa, more specifically in Rwanda. I'm so happy being part of this roundtable discussion about safety. I'm somebody who is really so much safety passionate, and safety is something that is really very new to this other side of the planet. But it's really very, very paramount that companies really understand the importance of investing in health and safety. Because of recent, where I'm currently working, I'm working as a maintenance supervisor, but somebody who is really passionate about health and safety, doing my best to know more about it. And that's in that sense that I got to get in touch with you. And then I was really happy that I will be around this table listening to different health and safety professionals talking about safety and how it can contribute to the return on investment. It's really, really, really a difficult thing to discuss about, especially this side, because most people will need to invest, yes, but they don't have the health and safety culture. And as you know, in any company, it's always management that sets the culture. It's really difficult on my end to decide, trying to discuss with the management and make sure that they understand why we should invest in health and safety, why we should involve people on the front line to develop the policies and procedures that govern health and safety side, as the other lady was discussing about. And it's really, really a difficult thing. I'm glad that I will be most in touch with so many that I've had on this discussion, maybe to try and help me understand more better on how we can really set up a health and safety culture in a company that has management that really does not want to invest any single penny in health and safety. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you, and thank you for joining. And it's always great to see the global reach that we can get from events like this, which really make it feel, a very worthwhile thing to do. I'd encourage you to get involved in, LinkedIn, get involved in some of the groups on there. I'm publishing in September my book on preventing slip accidents through slipology, and that includes a section about how to try and get buy-in from all levels of the organization for a topic which is often seen as not that important, not that sexy, not that expensive, etc. Stopping slips. So you might benefit from having a read of that as well. So when that's out, drop me a message and I'll make sure that that you can get a copy.
Thank you very much. That's appreciated.
I know. Pleasure. Oladapo, do you want to unmute and come and say hello?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, good afternoon to you.
Hi.
I'm speaking from Lagos, Nigeria, and I want to appreciate you for this event. And what I would just like to say is, if we look at this topic you brought in for us today, is very, very good. Because if we look at the safety culture we actually have here in Africa, particularly Nigeria, you'll find out that it is a little bit below standard. Let me bring the perspective of the organization where I work. Years back, the company has been existing over 30, 40 years. But years back, just about 8, 9 years ago, there was no safety person in the organization. But they feel that work can actually go on. They can put the work actually for someone else to do, and there's no need for safety. Look at it in one way or the other. But as time goes by, they find out that safety is actually very, very key. A big accident occurred about 2 years ago where there was a fire incident on the floor. And they actually felt that if they had intensifying these safety measures, probably it wouldn't have happened. So much equipment was damaged. There was lots of lost as a result of some of the raw materials that got burnt and the likes. So as a result of that, they intensify more on safety cultures. Fire ambulance was bought, fire truck was bought, and some other things like that was done. But as time goes by, they also find out that if they had brought in a safety person from the inception, probably, and the safety culture has been imbibed in the life of those workers, over 500 workers in the factory, maybe it would have been better. So to your topic, the return on investment is actually very, very key. Now, the safety culture goes a long way with the work. Although, most of the workers have been there for 10, 15, 20 years, they don't feel that there is need for them to follow safety culture, safety principles, safety rules and regulations. But as we keep going, they keep learning as a result of the trainings and the procedures that have been set out for everyone in the factory. So with time, everybody gets to understand that, yes, it is actually a daily thing, and it is actually a thing that is important for every workers to follow through. And it is up to helping the management, because if you look at the management now, yes, they are spending so much on PPEs and the likes that they need to get on the factory, but it will definitely reduce costs compared to the damage it would have caused, or it has caused previously in years back. So I think that's just my own take, that if we can actually do more in aspect of safety in our organization, it will be better for us, for the organization to improve, and there will be so much return on investment. Instead of spending money, like you said in your slide earlier, the cost you are going to imbibe using the cost you will imbibe using those insurance companies, you will insure those machines and the likes. So once those equipment are damaged as a result of fire, there won't be, you have to pay so much, although some of the insurance firm will also pay you back. But the money you get back as a result of time might not be compared to what you might have lost. Some of your customers, as a result of time, they might leave and go to another company entirely. So it is very good if organizations take firm of safety and do so much more from there. So I think that's just my conclusion. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, fully agree with that. And I think the lesson there is one we sort of touched upon a bit earlier around as well, in terms of if you haven't had something bad happen, it's easy to sort of logically say, well, we won't invest, we won't replace this bit of kit, we won't buy that. And it's not until something bad happens, and then it obviously costs you multiples of what it would have costed before. So I think the challenge for us is to try to figure out how we can learn lessons from other organizations, whether they're in our sector or others, think about some of these key principles, and try to almost put the building blocks in place across that broad spectrum of areas where we can get a return on investment, to kind of make this an argument that's almost a can't miss, because we're stacking so much value on top. You're going to get a return on investment here and here and here and here and here and here. Oh, and of course, we're going to prevent something bad that might happen from happening. But remember, you're going to get this and this and this and this and this and this. And I think that's the way we kind of have to try and go about it. Tamara, did you want to come back in again?
Just for a second, I think it might make for an interesting discussion about how can we get our workers more involved in different areas. I mean, we've got a very educated workforce now. So, is there areas we could bring them in to consult on policy making, program making, those type of things, and kind of level up our thinking about how are we getting our frontline workers involved? Because if we build trust with them and build those relations, we're going to learn a lot more about what's actually happening on the front lines, that then we can help eliminate and mitigate those risks. As you said before, when we give incentive programs like rewards or stuff, people start reporting falsely for numerous different ways. But I think if we give rewards as in engagement and including and being inclusive, right, we're going to get a different type of return on investment that we haven't spoken about yet.
Yeah. If it's okay, Tamara, I'd like to park that specific point, but what I'd like to do is take it offline with you and maybe arrange to run a session, perhaps in October or November, and let's just focus exactly on that point. So, what can we do to get frontline staff more engaged in safety? What would be the strategies? What are the benefits we can get from it, and what ROI can we get from that? I think that would be, because I think that's such a big topic, that's worthy of doing its own session on. So let's aim to do that. We'll pick that one up offline if that's okay. So just quickly, because I'm conscious of time, I wanted to share another example with you. This is one that I was involved in. So it was a health club chain here in the UK with about 150 sites. Slipping accidents accounted for about 30% of their insurance claims, which was about one per week. So that was costing them over £600,000 on claims alone. On average, because obviously some claims are more and some are less, but that was the average cost. We did a lot of work with them. This case study is included in my book, actually, that I mentioned, and we managed to help them to reduce that to one per month, so 77% reduction. So what did that mean for them? Well, obviously it saved them costs, right? So it saved them the cost of the claims, it saved them the admin cost, it saved them bottom line costs because they had insurance whereby they were covered for the first X amount of the claim, but not above that. And it led to them having a reduced insurance premium as well, because if you're the insurance company and you see we've gone from one claim per week to one per month, then obviously you're going to feel like that's a good customer to have and you're going to give them a better price. It helped them to improve their operational efficiency. As I mentioned earlier, improve their member experience and their sales, and it freed up a huge amount of time. That meant they were then able to work on their next area of safety investment. And this particular organization is really into kind of social impact. And just on that alone, the safety team, by freeing up some time and by freeing up some headspace away from slips, they were able to spend a lot more time on some charitable causes and so on. So, we made an impact there for the business's bottom line, but we also made an impact for human cost, should we say, and social, economic, charitable stuff as well. Just quickly before we start wrapping up, the next safety roundtable is on the 4th of September. You may or may not know, but in September each year, I run a little campaign. Well, it's quite a big campaign actually, which I call Sliptember. So it's all focusing very heavily on slip safety. So the book that I mentioned is coming out in September. There's going to be podcasts, there's going to be safety roundtables, etc., all about the field of slips. So join us on the 4th of September, where we're going to have some people from AXA XL, which is a large insurance company, giving us the underwriter, the risk management and the claims perspective on safety broadly, talking about how they approach things, how they see different types of risks, what appetites they have, and how they deem clients who act in a certain way on safety versus others, and also speaking a bit more specifically about slip safety as well. So do join that session on the 4th of September. So we've got a few minutes left of our allotted time today. I'm very happy to take any more contributions if anybody wants to say anything else that's joined us here on the Zoom. Jason.
I just want to start by saying this is really awesome. This is my first time to attend this roundtable, so it's really great to hear from safety professionals from across the world. I'm joining from Texas and Texas oil fields in the United States. So safety is really a huge of huge importance to us. We have some really hazardous work that we perform, but really all in all, hearing all the different points made today about return on investment, safety is really safety as a driver or mission from the top down in organization is really at the heart of it all. I mean, when a company cares or invests in safety, it often results in increased employee morale. When you increase employee morale, it leads oftentimes to safer operations, efficient operations, increased productivity, and that boosts company reputation, customer experience, and then increases sales. And when it's all working properly, that also reduces incidents and injuries and reduces those insurance premiums and reduces any litigation that may come up from incidents or injuries. So really good information that I got from you all today, and there's some information that Tamara put in the comments that I'm going to be looking into, some calculations and whatnot. So I greatly appreciate all the input that everybody's given today. It's been very helpful, and I look forward to attending these more in the future.
Thanks, Jason. That's great, and great to have you. And actually, you did a fantastic job in summing things up. So I'm going to sign off from the session with your great summary of what we talked about today. And thank you and everyone else for joining. And yeah, do stay involved in the discussion on LinkedIn and join us for more of these safety roundtables in the future. Good stuff, guys. Thank you very much.